creating a build for your game is key to any project meant to be published and shared with others. This is the step where you go from a Unity project in your editor to an executable that can be run on any computer. When working on a full-fledged project, you'll often find that you want to set up multiple types of build. For instance, you might want a demo build, a playtest build, and a release build. The demo build might be a subset of your game, maybe just the first level, whereas the release build is your full game with everything included. Maybe the playtest build has the same content as the release build, but with achievement disabled and cheat codes enabled to quickly navigate through the game during playtesting. You might also want to release on multiple platforms, and maybe multiple stores. The release build for Steam will probably be different from your release build for Nintendo Switch, because you need different code to handle things like achievements, settings, controller, and more. And you don't want to duplicate your Unity projects for each cases. So how do you handle a large variety of build types, platforms, and stores without creating yourself headaches in the process? Today I want to present the tool that I use in all my projects to deal with builds. Super Unity Build is an open source project under MIT license, available on GitHub. It allows you to configure all your builds and implement specific code and features depending on the build type, the platform, and the store. MIT license means that you're free to use it in all your projects, commercial or not, as long as you give credit to the authors. So here's the Super Unity Build window that you use to configure everything. So the way it works is that you configure as many release types as you want. So here I have a few configured already. And for each of them, you set up a few variables at the top, and then you select the list of things. Fairly easy. And you also configure the platforms that you are targeting, so in my case PC and macOS, and for each platform you can configure the different stores. So in my case I target Steam on Windows and also everything that is not Steam on Windows. So this does two things. It generates this file, which is very handy it allows you to very easily write conditional code depending on the current build settings. I will come back to that. And it automatically combines all release types, platform, and stores to cover all the build possibilities. This is really useful as well. So here I can select one build, for instance this one, and we can see in the build info all information about the build I selected. So you can see that Super Unity Build will automatically create some defines. So here I can use this in the code if I want to enable or disable part of the code. And I can build and run with the profiler. And more importantly, there is this button, the configure editor environment, which is really useful because when you click it, it will configure your editor to be exactly like this build. So this is really cool if you want to debug something specific in a build. Let's click it. Now if I go back to my file, you will see that it's set up exactly like the build we have selected. Something else that Unity Build does super well is that it gives you this button to perform all enable build at once. So this is all the builds that I've selected. I can select more. This is really handy because building something and especially changing the editor to be set up like all of your builds, especially if you have different platforms, takes a bit of time every time. But this does it all for you. So when you click on this, it will do all builds one after the other, and you can just click this and go do something else. And when you come back, it should be finished. There is something I skipped over, which are the post-build and the pre-build actions, which are also a really cool feature of Super Unity Build. The idea is that you might want to run some custom actions every time before a build or after a build. So there are a few that are already created by Super Unity Build, and in that case I have the zip file operation that is set up, for instance. In that case I filter the build so that it only does that for the PC builds. So for every PC build, this zip file operation will be run and it will create a zip file of all my build. This is really useful for my workflow because then I just take this zip file and I upload it on Steam, and that's how I upload new builds. I don't even use the Steam command line. But if you wanted to use the Steam command line, you could also create your own custom build action, because Super Unity Build allows you to create your own code for build actions. And you could just set it up so that it uses the command line and it uploads to Steam automatically if you wanted to do that. In my case, I created a custom pre-build action, so that's run before every build. We'll come back to that later. So now I wanted to show you a few examples of how I use the conditional code with Super Unity build. So for instance, I have this very useful mono behavior, set release version text. So this one takes the TextMesh Pro text script, and it will just set this text to the current release type and the current version. So this is useful. I can show you how it's set up. I have it set up on this game object right now, and it will just set here in the corner the current release type and version. This is really useful for all the debugging because when players are playing the playtest and they find some bugs, when they report a bug, I will receive a screenshot most of the time, and because I have this enabled, I always know what build they were playing, and this is really useful to take care of debugging and for bug reports in general. And let's finish with the OTS pre-build action. I told you earlier that I would let you know a little bit more about this. I just want to show you how it's set up. This is how you create a custom build action. Remember we have this set up here, here. And in my case, it will just basically call this. And this little function is very important for my game because I have collectibles in the game that I call prisms. And when I work on the game, I might remove prisms, I might add more. Some of them only works for the demo build, some of them for all the other builds. And every time I make a build, I'm not sure what's the current state of prisms, and I need to keep track of IDs for each of them, unique IDs, for the same system. So it's a bit complicated and unnecessary to explain in detail here, but the point is that with the magic of Super Unity build, I can just pop my code here, and then it will be run before each of my builds. And you can think of anything really that you want to do here. That's pretty much it for Super Unity build. This is an incredibly useful tool, especially considering that it's entirely for free. As I said, I use it in all my projects, and I think you should so too. That's it for now. Make sure to subscribe for more game dev content, and I hope to see you around. Bye.